All right. How are we doing? This is the Zim video. This is Creative Mind Podcast. This is the Zim coming at you again with another MCU Aftershow. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining again. All right. So this is a show where we talk about the MCU and basically follow up a reaction and speculation and talk about conversation about what's going down in the MCU. We just had the third episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was amazing. And as my title says, I changed my title around this time because I had to. It says Sharon Carter is the power broker. I mean, what do you think? I mean, it seems, so here's how it went. I was watching the show yesterday and my mom actually brought it up. She was like, do you think she's the power broker? And I wasn't thinking about it at all because I was conditioned by her role previous to this episode. You know, I was conditioned by the idea that she was romantic with, or getting romantic with, Captain America. It was on Captain America's side. By the way, side note, anybody else think it's strange that the two people they showed Captain America have romantic interest in were related? Anybody else? I haven't heard anybody say that, but also haven't heard anybody say on the internet. So I kind of been I've been 10% avoiding the internet I don't want to hear somebody else make this call, but I'm sure somebody else has got to have said this idea already, that Sharon Carter is the power broker. I mean, it just makes so much sense. I mean, so the way this show works, let me break down the show a little bit, is basically I'm still developing how it works, but I kind of focus on each character of the episode and then talk about each character. And then within talking about each character, it opens up some general ideas of the show. I don't have anything overarching to bring up that I could think of, but maybe I'll sprinkle it in. This is a pretty random show. It's also both on YouTube and on the podcast Creative Mind. You can find the links to either one if you'd rather watch it or listen to it in different formats. You can find the links in the description of each one. So thanks a lot for joining. So yeah, Sharon Carter is the power broker. My mom brought it up. And, you know, like I was saying, I was conditioned by this idea that she's somebody else than we believe her to be. But as you look at it, I watched the episode twice. And as you watch it, it just makes more sense after she brought it up. And I was like, because the one thing is, you know, Zemo describes the power broker. So the question that, the big question is, what is the timeline of the power broker? Did the power broker exist before the snap? Did Sharon Carter dust or not? She must not have dusted if she was able to become the power broker and build up that kind of power because there was, you know, more opportunity after the snap during the blip. Is the blip when they came back, or is the blip when, I don't know, I have to figure that out. So that's a question there, is like, is the power broker somebody that started, like, wasn't like a, you know, because Zemo says he heard the reputation of the power broker. At what point in time did he hear the reputation of the power broker? Did Zemo get snapped? Was Zemo dusted? I don't know. There's answers to, so that's the only question. If the timeline matches, then obviously I think Sharon Carter could be the power broker, or they're trying to bait us to believe she is, if anybody else thinks that she is. It's like, why is she so cynical? I mean, she's cynical, you know, are the writers kind of really pushing the boundaries of who this person could have been? Because when we saw her in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and and she showed up in Civil War. When we saw her in both of those places, you know, she felt righteous. She felt like a good person. Like there was never really an indication that she would turn to like a dark path. The only thing that comes to mind that says maybe shows that she's tough, and I love how much she kicked ass in this. She kicked so much ass. She was like, it was like awesome how much of an ass. I thought for a second when I started thinking about her being the power broker, I thought like, is she juicing on this serum? Is she taking it? But she fought the kind of the assassin people in the shipyard like a normal person would. She didn't look like to have any super strength, and why wouldn't she use their super strength if she could, So that's one. I was like, okay, she's probably not on the stuff, but because and then at the end of that whole sequence, well, I haven't finished my first thought. So when Zemo says, he's heard of the reputation of the power broker and heard he's like insane, basically, like not insane, but nobody you want to mess with. And in that whole sequence of Sharon Carter fighting, she was kicking ass. It's like, that's not somebody you want to mess with. She was not joking around. And so that matched up. It was interesting. Everybody saw that she was the person. They had a quick shot of her in the bar when they all went into the bar for that first time, and she was the hooded character that walked away. So she saw everything happen. How she knew to be there, or was she just there by coincidence? I don't know how that would work. She was like, oh my gosh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier are here right now with Zemo. What's going on? Like if she saw it and just kind of ducked away and just kind of watched from the sidelines. Because how many people know how many people have seen the power broker's face? That's what I want to know too. It's like, is the power broker a complete mystery to like everybody but a really select few? Like nobody actually knows who this person is. So there's that idea. But she saw that all go down, and then when she mentioned to them while they were talking out of her apartment place, she made that comment of Bucky being Zemo's puppet, and Zemo kind of like looked at her like, how did you know? And that's what I interpreted. Like, how did you know what was happening? Like, so you were there, it's like, so that was an interesting thing. So those are a couple of things. But anyways, what do you think? Is Sharon Carter the power broker? Did I just blow your mind? My mom blew my mind when she said it. I was like, what? I was not even thinking that. Because I was totally thinking like, oh, we're going to find out who the power broker is. Not maybe this episode, but it's like the mystery of the power broker is like, who is this person? And then like, because I don't think they're going to use the comic way of doing it in the comics. Because the other idea, so, okay, we're going to jump to John Walker, the new Captain America guy, because in the comics, he has a very relationship with the power broker. And I'm wondering if they're trying to suggest with him, they're progressively showing John Walker get more and more angsty and angry, not be able to hold his cool. So I'm wondering if he's like juicing up on this stuff right now in some way. Like, I know they said there's only so many vials and Carly stole them all. So maybe he's not, but it's interesting, but because, there's this relationship, like, will John Walker end up becoming a super soldier as well? Because he is in the comics. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. And he is because of the power broker, like the power broker made him that way. And so there's that relationship there. Interesting to think about that. Let's run down the list. So Falcon, so of course the callback to the car scene when Bucky was in the backseat of the Vita Bug, and he's now in the backseat of this other car. You're not gonna pull the seat up, are you? It's like, nope. That was good callback. Falcon really didn't have, he played the role of the smiling tiger guy, a little comic relief in there a little bit, but nothing moved that I could think of with his character. The one thing that did make me kind of question a little bit is how quickly he accepted the fact that Bucky helped break Zemo out of prison, which reminds me, So we'll get to Bucky next, but so that whole thing, like that whole discourse, like, okay, I'll I'm okay with this now. And then so it kind of we kind of have to talk to about Bucky and Falcon all at the same time, and Zemo even, because when they're in the bar and they're fighting, there's people they specifically show people videotaping this. So, or not videotaping, but cell phone recording. They have cell phones and they're holding them up. Does that mean the fact that they're with Zemo is gonna get out like on the internet, and so they're gonna be on the run again, like straight up on the run, and not like they're gonna be something bad's gonna happen in that way? So, and is that how they're able to? So they might decide like, well, okay, we're fugitives anyway. We're back on the run. We can't go home. Let's just, and they're relying on Zemo, which is another thing. Like, why is Zemo so willing to just work? There are so many opportunities for him to just go like, I'm out of here. Peace. Peace out. I'm gone. I'm not coming. It's like, but he's willing to stay with them. So they're making Zemo almost like this anti-hero in a way, for this show at this point anyway. They're like making him willing to work with them because is his desire to snuff out any idea of the super soldier so passionate and anything about super, so that he's like, I'll just stick with these guys because they're going to help me take out the people I want to take out, like he did in the show, like taking out the doctor. So, it kind of, they're just kind of suspended disbelief a little bit right now with that whole relationship. But so Bucky and Sam being just kind of like easy to go like, okay, let's just do this. Are they on the run? But then does that open up why, because we've seen in the previews that they eventually get the shield. They eventually have the shield. And they were talking about in this episode, like, Bucky's like, I'm going to take the shield before you can destroy it, because they had that whole discourse. I'm going to take it back, from this other Captain America guy. So if they're pushed into a place of being fugitives again, maybe they don't care about stealing this. They're like, screw it. We're fugitives anyway. Again, let's go take the shield and let's go find these people that are making super soldiers, and take them down. There's that idea. And then the other, so talking about Bucky, little confusing this episode with where his head's at a little bit. He's so like there. It's interesting. It's hard to tell what they're really doing with the character, because they're suggesting that he's obviously fighting with this idea of being the Winter Soldier, and where does he live within that spectrum of how his relationship with being the Winter Soldier is, because now they pushed him back into that place, and will he get pushed over the edge again for some reason? Like, he's really pissed off about the whole Captain America situation with Bucky, with Sam and stuff. But there's that. But the question I want to have is, how did he get the card, the security card thing to Zemo in the book? Like, did he set this? Does he have connections that he tapped into before he even went there? Like, he called up some security guards. He's like, look, I want you to put this in this book and give it to Zemo, because we're going to show up and break him out. Like, how did he do that? They don't explain. They're like, oh, what book you reading? Oh, Machiavelli, or however you pronounce it. And, oh, by the way, there just happens to be a key card in there that you can escape with. Like, how could he use the key card to get on that side? Whatever. That was a little bit, yeah, but they just needed to get him out of the prison somehow. So there's that one. This might be a slightly shorter episode, because I'm getting through all my points pretty quick. But then we have Carly, the interesting play on Carly. So they're really twisting. So at first, the first episode's Carly's the smag flashers, the flag smashers. In the first episode or the second episode or whatever, they made them seem like they're kind of righteous about what they're doing. But then, so you kind of felt for them. You're like, oh, even though they're anti like establishment, at least they're not bad guys, in the same sense, but now they're bad guys. They just killed a bunch of people. They just blew up a bunch of people. So it's like, okay, we pushed them into the realm of bad guys. And interesting to see, like, the previews totally made it feel like that Zemo and the Flag Smashers were like a team. But Zemo, it's just interesting where they're kind of aligning things. It's not what you're expecting. I believe what I've heard about the comics and Zemo is he puts together like his own superhero team in a way that's like bad. They're like bad dudes, but he's kind of, maybe that's kind of a twist they're doing right now, is they're gonna make Falcon and Winter Soldier bad guys again in some way, and Zemo is kind of their support network to make this all happen. So it's like a twist on that idea that Zemo puts together a team, and who else might be in that team if anybody else comes along. Will be interesting to find out. But yeah, Sharon Carter, the power broker, I'm pretty much like, that's like, I'm interested to see how that plays out, because that right at the the end of that whole sequence, she goes to the girl, her driver, and she's like, we got a problem. Actually, we got a couple problems, because, and then when Zemo shot the doctor, she's like, what did you do? She's like, I need that guy. He's making me my serum. It's like, so interesting. And this show, okay, so there is some overarching stuff I want to talk about. Again, this show is just so good, like cinematic, like the way this show has been put together is so good. Like, better, I think it's better than WandaVision. Like, I really liked WandaVision. I thought WandaVision was awesome. But this show is just so well paced and so well crafted. Like, there's nothing out of place. Like, WandaVision, there was a few things out of place, and you're like, yeah, they didn't do so good. Like, in terms of quality, in terms of like cinema, that level of quality we're used to. Like, WandaVision had a few moments that were like, Thor the Dark World quality. Like, Thor the Dark World is like the worst cinematic version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And there was just moments in WandaVision where like, he didn't quite hit it right there, in my opinion, like with production value, with storytelling, with a couple things. But so far, Falcon and Winter Soldier, after 3 episodes, like, nothing is out of place. Everything is like perfect as far as I'm concerned. Like, I mean, yeah, if I had to really stretch and go like, where are they failing in this show? They have a little bit of that it all works out too easily syndrome. Like, oh, it just works out. It's like, oh, we need this to happen. Let's talk about some weird idea. And then, oh, that's what happened. There's no like necessarily like a struggle to make it happen. There's no like sometimes the belief that it was a difficult thing, what isn't there, but not a lot. It's not too bad. Like, there's some shows where I've seen that concept happen where it's like, it just works out. Everything works out all the time. It's like, how is this is kind of boring, it's like, but, so now we're at the end of the 3rd episode, and I'm understanding that there's a whole bunch of Easter eggs in a sense, or premonitions and things in the end credits. I guess in that part where the end credits before just the black and white part of the end credits, it's like where and I guess the imagery in the background and things, they have like a lot of stuff. I don't really know. This is not going to be the place for to learn about that stuff. You're going to have to go somewhere else. I just learned about that from other places. And so, anyways, I just felt like bringing that up. But the end, like that last sequence, I'm wondering, this is what I'm wondering, and I don't think they'll ever tell us, because there was speculation that, Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther could have shown up in this series, in this show somewhere, because it was filmed before his passing. And so there's a possibility that he might have been able to film something with them. And I'm wondering if he did, and Disney decided to cut it out because they wanted to respect him and they didn't want to use him, because if he is in the show, they would be it would be really interesting if they chose not to use that as part of the promotion of the show, because it's like, what, this is Chadwick Boseman's last on-screen appearance. How would they not use that? So I'm wondering if they maybe switched it up, knowing that moving forward in the MCU he's not around, so they need to set up somebody else in Wakanda to be a connecting thread. And so they chose, I don't remember her name, but the leader of the guard, in a sense. And I'm wondering if in that last scene actually was filmed with Chadwick Boseman. Like, I'm wondering if he's the one that showed up, and then Bucky was like, I was wondering when you were going to show up, because they do have a relationship, with him being the, in Wakanda for a while, the White Wolf, idea. So that was interesting. And then it's a little bit like, so Bucky saw these were they putting these things out for Bucky to see and being like, we want to talk to you before we go kill Zemo? Or what? I don't know. Because it's kind of interesting that they did that instead of just been like, Zemo's dead. He killed our king. He's dead, straight up. But it'll be interesting to see how the Wakanda connection plays into this show. We haven't got a lot of Madripoor yet. Madripoor, is that the name of it? I hope I'm saying, or am I confusing it with the Doctor Strange place? Anyways, the place they went to see the power broker. Yeah. Madripoor? I don't know. I think I might have messed that up. But I think that's it. I think that's all I got. I'd love to hear what you think about the show. Do you have any comments? Throw them in if you're listening to this on the podcast side, go over to the YouTube side and put it in the comments on the YouTube. And if you're watching it on YouTube, then just go jump down in the comments. Throw your thoughts and ideas into this. Tell me what you think about it. And if you're here still hanging out, thanks a lot for listening. The last episode was the most listened to and viewed episode of the show yet. Still not crazy a lot of people listening by any means whatsoever, but hopefully maybe people will start to find this show and be interested in how I think about the show and how I talk about it, and just want to hang out with me for a little while. Look, this one's not even going to be a half hour. This one's pretty short. Excited for the next episode. So until next week, be loving, kind, and patient. Peace.